Welcome everyone. Today I'm bringing you the next DPS class in the lineup for Shadowlands, and that is going to be the Destruction Warlock. Warlocks have always been very fun for me. I've always kind of associated more with the villain side, and they just kind of tend to walk that line more on the dark side of magic. As a reminder, guys, I do stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Links are down in the description below. And as always, guys, if you guys do enjoy this video and you would like to see more classes done, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button, click that subscribe button, turn those notifications on so you know when the next video does go live, as I will be periodically updating all of these classes as more information comes out. All right, guys, with that, let's get into it. The Destruction Warlock, giving you everything you need to know so that you can play it properly in Shadowlands. Warlocks have always been a pretty good part of progressive play, and this is no different. The Destruction Warlock has an amazing amount of cleavability, especially through Havoc. They have one of the best burst DPS damage with very little ramp up time, as well as providing phenomenal cooldown. All right, so some of the weaknesses for the Destruction Warlock, they're not very mobile. Obviously, they do have some long cast climbs, especially with Chaos Bolt. Like I said, they do have phenomenal cooldowns, but outside of those cooldowns, they do struggle a little bit. And talent-wise, there's not a whole lot of variation or options to it, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at the situation. So some of the changes are, one of them, the biggest one, is Soulfire. Soulfire is now on a 45-second cooldown, and it does 420% of your spell damage, as well as apply Emulate. It is a 4-second cast, but overall a pretty cool upgrade. And then another change is Grimoire of Supremacy was replaced by Reign of Chaos. This makes it a little bit more versatile, as well as also it definitely helps, especially in AoE and multi-target situations. Another thing in Shadowlands that was brought back is the return of the curses. Curse of Tongues, Curse of Weakness, and Curse of Exhaustion are all back in, and all Warlocks have them. Also, Howl of Terror has replaced Demonic Circle on the talent choice list, as Demonic Circle did become a baseline spell. All right, so as far as a stat priority goes, number one is going to be basically, it's almost a tie between Mastery and Haste. So a Haste is actually really good, but as you add more targets in, Mastery becomes more beneficial to the Destruction Warlock. Obviously, number two is going to be Critical Strike, because that's how hard your spells are going to hit, followed by Versatility, as that increases the damage and reduces the damage to you. And then last but not least is Intellect. As always, these numbers do change based off of different scaling and different things that are put into the game. So I always recommend that you guys do sim yourself, either using raid bots or simulation craft. Okay, as far as gems go, you want to go after the Leviathan's Eye of Intellect. That's going to give you much more intellect, and then everything else you want to go ahead and gem for haste. For your enchants, for much like the Shadow Priest, you're going to want to get Sinful Revelation for your weapon. Your chest, you can do Eternal Stats. That's going to give you a bonus stat to all with 30. On your bracers, obviously Internal Intellect, increase those bracers by 15. Your ring should be the Tenet of Haste, and your cloak, I recommend using Fortified Avoidance. Potion of Special Intellect is going to be your default one, obviously, for the Destruction Warlock. As far as food goes, obviously the Gluttonous Hedonism is obviously the one you're going to be for the raid. Otherwise, for your own, you're going to want to use the Iridescent Ravioli with applesauce. Gosh, that sounds delicious. Otherwise, use the Meaty Apple Dumplings. It's a little bit cheaper. Those are Mastery food, and that is really good. All right, guys, so let's go over your talents. As always, I'm going to give you my preferences for single target, multi-target, as well as bigger targets such as Mythic Plus. All right, so level 15, you do have a couple of options here. Obviously, Soulfire is the one we talked about earlier that was reworked. It is a 45-second cooldown. It does work well if you're doing Soul Shard regeneration, and it pairs really great with Havoc, but I think the other two talents are a little bit better. The default one that I would go with, especially in single target and multi-target situations, is going to be Flashover. Flashover causes Conflagrate to deal 10% more damage, and it gives you an extra cast of Backdraft. Eradication is very good. It does allow your Chaos Bolt to deal 10% more damage over 7 seconds. And at the higher end, once you get higher gear, it does scale better for single target. But other than that, until you get that really high item level and you're on single target fights, I do recommend that you stick with Flashover. Okay, so level 25, the option, so Shadow Burn. Shadow Burn is the only form of execute that the Destruction Warlock has. It's decent. It does help quite a bit, actually, probably in Mythic Pluses if there's a lot of ad dyings, but it's very, very situational. So I tend to try to stay away from situational and just try to have the best experience for overall. The reverse entropy is basically the best one for 1 to 2 targets. And basically what it will do is it has a chance to grant you 15% increase in haste for 8 seconds on every cast. Internal combustion causes Chaos Bolt to basically take 5 ticks of your immolation and it instantly apply that to the target. It is very good, and it can outperform reverse entropy in single target and 2 target situations. So it's good if you're kind of doing solo quests or if you're just fighting one boss. But overall, generally, I would recommend reverse entropy here. All right, so level 30. This is a very easy one for me. I've always been a big fan of Burning Rush. I love mobility, and you know, even though it does cost you 4% of your health each tick, it is very good for getting through dungeons. It is getting if you have to move out of something very quickly. Burning Rush to me is the default choice here. All right, so level 35, the default choice, especially between 1 and 3 targets, is going to be Cataclysm. It's going to deal a large burst damage within an 8-yard radius for 30 seconds periodically. Now, the only time you would use Fire and Brimstone is if you do need some cleave action, as well as anything that's basically 4 targets plus, like in Mythic AoEs. That is where Fire and Brimstone kind of outshines Cataclysm. But those are the only 2 situations that you would use those. All right, so level 40, the easy choice here for me is Mortal Coil. It gives you basically a form of CC, as well as it's basically a self-heal for 20% of your health. No brainer, Mortal Coil. So level 45, Roaring Blaze causes Conflagrate to burn the target additionally for 6 seconds. But Reign of Chaos right now, especially with the 2-minute Infernals, is just so good. It has a 15% chance for every soul shard that you spend to spawn an additional Infernal. And even though it is on a cooldown, this thing is just so OP, it's ridiculous. My choice in all situations is going to be Reign of Chaos. All right, so level 50, Soul Conduit is kind of, it can go either way. It does okay regardless of the situation. And it's not a terrible choice, but I do think there are a couple better ones. So Channel Demon Fire is really good, especially in Mythic Plus, just because of the multiple targets that it can hit. It obviously fires off, I believe, 15 bolts in random directions, and it pairs really well with Cataclysm. So it actually is pretty beneficial with high mob counts in areas like Mythic Plus. But overall, I just think that the Dark Soul instability, it is one of the best ones, especially with 1 to 2 targets where it's not stacked. And then the way it pairs with Reign of Chaos is just absolutely ridiculous. So typically in most situations, like I said, other except for Mythic Plus, I would recommend that you go with Dark Soul instability. If you do know you're going to have a high mob count, go ahead and possibly give that Channel Demon Fire a chance. But again, Dark Soul instability is going to be just fine in that situation. All right, so as far as your rotation goes, obviously you're going to want to precast Incinerate, then precast Cataclysm. If you have that Infernal available, go ahead and summon it. Fire off your Conflagrates, hit that Chaos Bolt, especially if you're about to cap your soul shards, and then use Incinerate until Chaos Bolt comes available again, and then use Incinerate until Conflagrate recharges, and then fire off another Chaos Bolt. And then when you got about 20 seconds left on that Infernal, go ahead and fire off Dark Soul instability, then dump all of your buffed Chaos Bolts as fast as you can. All right, so for multi-target and AoE situations like Mythic Plus, make sure that you cast Immolate on the main target. Go ahead and cast Rain of Fire if you have 5+ targets up and Havoc is up. If Havoc is on cooldown though, go ahead and fire it off at 3 or more targets. If you have Chaos Bolt and you almost have 5 shards, go ahead and fire that off. Hit that Cataclysm. Make sure that Havoc is on your secondary target. Spend your soul shards with Chaos Bolt, then fire off Conflagrate and Incinerate. All right, so as far as Legendary go, there are a couple of them, depending on the situation, that are very good for the Destruction Warlock. Overall, I would recommend that you get the Relic of Demonic Synergy. It allows basically the damage done by you or your demon to give the other. So if the demon hits the proc, it's going to give you 10% damage buff over 15 seconds. And then if it procs off of you, it's going to give your demon a proc for damage buff for 10% for 15 seconds. Overall, this one's good just because it works for any spec, and this is the one that I would recommend overall. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of it though, there are some ones that are a little bit better. As far as rating goes, the one that's a little bit better is the Cinders of Ajakir. What it does is basically gives you an extra charge of Conflagrate, and it reduces the cooldown on it by 3 seconds. It works very very well with the flashover talent, which is very good for raiding for multi-target situations. As far as for Mythic, Wolfred's Sigil of Superior Summoning is by far the best one for Mythic Plus, because every time you spend a Soul Shard, it reduces the cast time or the cooldown time on Summon Infernal by 1.5 seconds. And that is massive because you can get off more Infernals. Obviously, in those AoE situations is going to do a lot of damage. All right, so as far as Covenants go for raiding, you're going to go with Necrolord. Necrolord is just going to do a lot better with those single and double target situations. So as far as Mythic Plus, you're going to use Kyrian. Kyrian can make use of Havoc, and it will at Scoring Tithe, and the Scoring Tithe will basically grant you 5 shards. So really good in Mythic Plus situations. And then Torghast, you're going to use Night Fae. Your Soulbind for raiding is going to be Bonesmith Ermir. In Mythic Plus, it's going to be Clea. And for Torghast, it's going to be Naya. All right, so as far as Conduits go for single target, I'm going to go with Combusting Engine. At 2 targets, I recommend Duplictus Havoc. And at any time you have multiple targets, 3 or more, Infernal Brand just seems really, really good. All right, so as far as Anima Powers, one of the best ones for the Destruction Warlock, the Crumbling Aegis, it basically reduces all harmful effects for 1.5 minutes. Phenomenal if you're doing it in front of the last boss. Ultimate Detainment is another one, allowing you to root or within 40 yards. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for the Destruction Warlock. Hope you guys are having fun in Shadowlands, and I have a very good time with this video. I know I had a lot of fun making it. Destro Warlocks are really sneaky fun. So if you do get a chance to play it, I highly recommend it, even if it is just an alt. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it, especially in this expansion. As always, guys, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. Also, let me know down in the comments what you thought of the Destro Lock and which spec you guys enjoy the most. And also let me know if there's any other classes and spec combinations that you guys would like me to do a video on. Until then, guys, remember that life is a circus. Enjoy that freak show, and I will see you guys next time.